Hi, I'm Ivana. Welcome to my channel on all things habits, and this is a part 2 video on finding better ways to manage the time that we have. In my first video, I talked about how when we get overwhelmed with lots of things to do, we often wish for the 25th hour, which is just extra time in our day to get all the stuff done. Now, we know that that is not possible to get more hours in the day, and we really need to find better ways to manage the time that we have. Otherwise, we're gonna go a little crazy. So this video is about an actual exercise of going through and figuring out how we are spending our time. Before we can make any changes and make any improvements, we need to take some inventory of where we're starting from. So before we do anything at all, I want you to look at this exercise like we're going online shopping. I don't want you worrying about how much it's gonna cost, how much I gotta spend to get free shipping, what's taxes and shipping gonna be, or like duties and whatever. What I want you to do is if there's something that you want, put it in the bag. We're gonna deal with everything after, okay? Channel your inner Ariana Grande and be like, I see it, I like it, I want it, I got it. Channel your Cardi B and be like, I can get them both, I don't wanna choose. If you want something, you put it in the bag. We'll deal with everything later, okay? So the way this exercise is gonna work is that there'll be a list of activities. So these will be like mandatory things that you do every day, things you have to do, and anything extra that you do. Again, customize the list. If I'm not mentioning everything that you do, please add. So there'll be the list of activities, and then you can allot a certain amount of hours that you do this activity for. And everything will be converted to hours per week. It'll make more sense as we kind of finish it up. So to get started, I'm gonna start off just listing a bunch of activities, and then you can start doing the math, and I will kind of help you along as well. So before we get started on anything, make sure you grab yourself something to write with and something to write on, and we can get rolling. I would say most people, if not everybody, should be factoring in the time of sleeping. So write down how many hours you need to sleep per day / per week to be rested, okay? If you're thinking like, well, you know, I need 8, but I can really live on 7, stop. I said we're just gonna throw it in the bag. It's really important, if at all possible, to sleep as many hours as you need to be rested, because if you're rested, everything else flows better. If you're going through things in your life right now where like maybe that's not possible, then I understand, do your best. But if you're one of those people that has the time, please make sure you factor in the full amount of hours you will need. We are creating our own schedule right now, okay? So sleep is number 1. Write down the hours you need. So let's say you're like, well, I need 8 per day. That's 7 times times 7 for the 7 days a week. That is 56 hours per week, okay? So the next thing would be something like work. How many hours do you spend working? So this would be like, let's say it's very steady. So it's like, let's say 40, so then just 40 hours. If it's fluctuating, like you're not getting the same hours every week, then take the worst case scenario just to give yourself a bit of a cushion, okay? So you can write that down. If you are still going in for work, then factor in the commute. So the drive there and the drive back, and just throw it in the bag. Things like grooming, like how long do you spend getting ready? So that's like showering, if you're, you know, styling your hair, makeup, whatever you want. If you do it every day, you do it every other day, whatever. So take some time to think about how long does it take you per week to get that done. Things like grocery shopping and cooking, roughly how much would you spend on that? Things like if there's any other extracurricular activities, like if you're still maybe hitting the gym or you're going to some classes, again, how many hours do you spend being there per week? And also, again, if there's a commute, factor in the commute as well. Socializing. I know it's a little bit tougher these days with restrictions and stuff, depending on where you are, but factor in roughly what it is that you spend your time socializing on. If you're like, well, now with COVID, it's not the same. Okay, so then maybe create like kind of a range. So it's like maybe right now you're socializing less, but in better times, you would be socializing X amount of hours. So add as many things as you need. If I haven't mentioned everything that you do, please feel free to add. So give you a second with that, and make sure that everything is converted to hours per week. So assuming that you're probably wrapping it up kind of sort of soon, you can now add up all of the hours together. And you will probably get a number that is hopefully less than 168. 168 is the amount of hours that we get every single week. So if you've thrown in all the things that are important, the things you need to do and have to do, this number is probably less. If you really want to figure out exactly what is left over, you can subtract the two and you will get a certain amount of hours. This time that's left over is the free time that you have on top of all of the things that you have to do and want to do to the amount of hours that you want and have to do them for. Now, if you're feeling anything similar to what I felt when I did this exercise, is probably a couple of things. Number one is, holy crap, there is way more time than I thought. And then in close succession is, holy crap, it does not feel like I have this time. That's fine. Again, we are keeping in mind that this is theory, like we are crunching numbers in theory as to how much do I spend. We're not factoring in if there's any transition times, if there's distractions, if there's unexpected things happening, granted. Now, given, I don't know how much time was left over for you, but let's say you were like me and you had like almost 20 hours left over at the end of all the stuff I had to do, which I was like, there's no way there's 20 hours in my week. I'm like, I don't know where it's going. Even if we say that's a little crazy, let's cut that in half and say you only have half of that time. For me, that was 10 hours. For you, it might be something different. But look at that number and think, like, even if I only had half of this free time, the point of this is to realize that there is time. This exercise is really just to help you realize that there are ways that we can get the time. It's just we need to figure out where the time is going. And that's the hard part. This part about crunching some numbers was easy. The hard part is figuring out how to reconcile the theory, which is what we just did, to our actual time, which is how we spend it. So there is so much to cover here. This is like a whole beast of its own. I would have to make quite a bit of videos on this, but if you are finding this exercise helpful, you're interested in finding out different ways to manage your time better, get the most out of it, and just like live your life to the fullest and the happiest that you can, subscribe to this channel because I'll be putting out a lot more information, little tips and exercises that you can do to figure out how you can reconcile this time and get a little bit more of it back. So share below if you found this exercise helpful, what your hours have been, what you want to do with the time that you now have, and like what you want to do next. Again, subscribe. I'll stay in touch with you guys and have a great day.